Today we're going to be talking about the real estate headlines. Now, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, one of the biggest questions you have right now is probably what's happening with home prices? And it is no surprise you don't have the clarity that you need on that specific topic. Part of the issue is how the headlines are talking about the prices. They are basing their negative news by comparing current stats to the last few years, but you can't really compare this year to the unicorn years, and that was when the house prices really reached record highs that showed to be unsustainable during the COVID period. And as prices begin to normalize, they're talking about it like it's a bad thing and making people fear that what's next. But the worst home price declines are already behind us. As we have mentioned in other videos and social media posts, we are on the fourth straight month of increases in the median home price here in Ada County. Now, the increases, they're not going to be 5 to 10%, but they're more moderate, and this is a return to a more normal home price appreciation. To help make home price trends easier to understand, let's focus on what's typical for the market and omit the last few years since they are truly anomalies. Let's start by talking about the seasonality in real estate. In the housing market, there are predictable ebbs and flows that happen every single year. Spring is usually the peak home buying season when the market is most active. That activity is typically strong into the summer but begins to wane as the cooler months approach. Now, home prices, they follow along with the seasonality because prices appreciate most when something is in high demand. That's why before the abnormal years we experienced just recently, there were some reliable long-term home price trends. And in this graph from Case-Shiller, it shows the typical monthly home price movement from 1973 through 2021. And of course, it's not adjusted, so you can see the seasonality. As the data for the last 48 years show, at the beginning of the year, home prices grow, but not as much as they do entering the spring and summer markets. That's because the market is less active in January and February since fewer people move in the cooler months. As the market transitions into a peak home buying season in the spring, activity ramps up and home prices, well, they go up a lot more in response. Then as fall and winter approach, activity, well, it eases again. Price growth slows, but typically it still appreciates. We know the sellers are feeling like they missed the market that we saw in the unicorn years, and we feel that it is so important for you to understand that in the coming months, as the housing market moves further into a more predictable seasonal rhythm, you're going to see even more headlines that either gets what's happening with home prices wrong or at the very least are misleading. Those headlines might use a number of price terms like, for example, appreciation. And as you know, appreciation is when prices increase. A deceleration of appreciation, that's when prices continue to appreciate, but at a much slower rate and typically more moderate pace. Now, depreciation is when the prices decrease. They're going to make the mistake of having the slowing home price growth, which is the deceleration of appreciation. That's the typical of the market seasonality in the fall and winter, and think that prices are actually falling, meaning they're depreciating. Well, don't let those headlines confuse you or spark fear. Instead, remember it is normal to see a deceleration of appreciation, slowing price growth as the months go by. And here's the bottom line. If you have questions about what's happening with the home prices here in Boise and the Treasure Valley, let's connect, because we want to make sure that you understand and really get that finger on the pulse of what the real estate market is doing here in our area. Let's connect.